What's up, small children? Welcome to my basement, children. Oh god.
This is when Cam gets canceled.
Sorry guys, I'm canceled because I said welcome to my basement, children.
Small children.
Small children, so that makes it even worse. Oh god.
Yeah, it really does.
Really? Oh goodness. Wait, why isn't my stream popping up? What? Why is it not
You're
popping
canceled.
up on my stream? Excuse me, what the fridge?
Cam said a no word.
Oh my gosh! Is it like unlisted or something? No, I thought I put it on public. It's unlisted, that's why. Oh, I gotta save it. I gotta unlist
Bro,
it.
this is
What date was that video posted?
Yeah, when was that posted?
When was it posted?
Yeah,
Yes.
check.
1 year ago.
A year? Then yeah, no, that's not gonna work. So you gotta look up, you gotta like
How
filter it. So it's like,
Well, here's one from 3 months ago.
then that should work. Cause I don't think
Yeah,
they haven't changed settings at all.
Why
Except
can't I
for
hear Cam?
you're what?
Oh, Reed has him muted apparently.
Oh, Reed
I
doesn't
can.
like me. That's why. I don't know. So you couldn't hear me that entire time?
Nope.
Wow.
I just want to try something. I just bought this board online at Walmart for $500. It was only $8. Oh, I just said.
Jeez.
So yeah, I'm just gonna try it out.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'm just trying to finish this.
I was downloading Fortnite on my laptop just to
Okay.
try it out.
Sorry, I was talking to my mother. Zealous Moose, can I join the party?
Okay,
Can Moose and I play? Sure. P invite.
Alright,
Mad
guys, I'll be
crazy.
back in like 15-ish minutes. Bye.
Okay, invite him.
Wait, for us to go?
No, he said
For
he'll
like
be back.
15 minutes. It
And
shouldn't
then-
take too long. At
Yes,
all.
you can
I'm just
join the
gonna leave my
party. Chat
I'll give you
P.
perks. Just don't break
And
anything
we
ever.
will play 3v3s. So
Okay.
I
Because
I
there's
don't break
always
anything.
rush
on my desk. I got
because I fast stack.
it's not like
Stack. I don't. Oh no, no! I hope you did. Oh, that sounded bad. I'm lagging. I gotta restart my internet. Well, so do I, boomer. You're a boomer. Okay, click here. I can't use. You can only use a social menu. We better
No,
win.
I need the Xbox Insider Hub. Oh my god.
Lol. I'm playing on the default texture pack, so I'm gonna be really bad, okay? I had to take all of my texture packs off, so I'm playing on a really bad I think it's the programmer art, so I'm sorry. This is bad texture pack. Let me get okay, that's good. Okay, let's see if I don't die this time. Oh god, my DPI is so messed up. My DPI is so messed up. Oh god. That's not good. I gotta change it in a sec, but I don't want to open MSI or what's it called? Corsair's thing to change it.
Visit PurduePharmaClaims.com or call 1-844-217-0912.
Capital One knows life doesn't alert you about your credit card. Next stop, Graham Street. And Brian and the Cactus.
Okay, gonna go get Red's bed. Because they literally have, they have no bed protection whatsoever. Oh, never mind, now they do.
Capital One's assistant.
Crap, now I don't,
Charges that might
I don't want to
surprise
take fall
you and
damage.
checks them. Eno. Another way Capital One is watching out for your money
Okay.
when you're not. Capital One. What's in your wallet? Limitations apply.
Okay, bro, you gotta stop. Get away from me. See, this is bad texture pack. Also, my DPI's all messed up. Oh my god. I don't like this. I don't like this. They all have weird they all have armor. I don't have armor. Oh no, please help me, Everett. Please. Join my game, Everett. Oh my god. Everett.
Can't.
Yeah, no, join my game right now or else I'm banning you from the server.
Okay.
Okay. okay.
Okay. Okay.
Wait.
Okay,
Maybe I did. I don't know. Did I reinstall them? I did. Let's apply this one.
Bruh.
It's called iMac. Are we doing good so far? Yes, we are doing very good so far.
No.
Is that a oh no, that's my sword. That's my sword. No.
No.
Oh my gosh. Yes, we are doing good.
No.
Shut up. Did I ask you?
No.
No.
So it sounds like I'll have to restart my Xbox.
That's dumb. Why would you need to restart your Xbox for a Fortnite setting? What?
Exactly.
Also, didn't you already try this before and it didn't work?
No, I tried it before and it worked because Reed somehow got it stuck on mouse and keyboard controls.
Well, yeah, because in
And I
the
just
setting
connected it
there
and
was a
fixed it.
there's a thing called
I looked in the settings,
in under accessibility.
like in Xbox settings.
Oh no, in Fortnite settings there's a thing.
Huh.
You are slow, okay? But this was back in like season 8 when I used to play on keyboard and mouse.
Wait, where is accessibilities? Where? Like, what is the logo?
I think the logo is like people. Camo plays Fortnite confirmed. No, I used to. I'm gonna get us obsidian, but no. I
used to.
I used
Says,
to.
I used to.
Yes.
Says no, I don't, but I used to.
I mean I did. You guys are bad at PvP, Mad. Okay, you suck.
Suck.
I'm really nice to my staff.
Obviously.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Dude, stop
Who
it.
needs-
I literally am going to commit a war crime. That sounded
Now
bad.
that should never be said, ever.
And of course, there's a kid never mind. He left.
Haha.
Jones barbecue and foot massage. Jones barbecue and foot. Jones barbecue and foot massage. Jones barbecue and foot massage. Oh, emerald. Yay, I love emeralds.
Can you like help me?
Um,
Help me.
No.
Help me.
Don't stop me now. Dun 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 dun. What was that? Holy crap! I don't know what it. Dun 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 dun. You was at the club. Barbie's up. I said Barbie's up. Am I
Yeah,
high?
nothing's happening. It's not working, Cam.
There's literally
You
no
lied to me. You
setting.
lied to me. You lied to
You're
me.
a liar. So I don't know what you're saying. Okay, you're such
Joe's
a freaking
barbecue
liar.
of
Oh, hey,
massage.
mad. I got you emeralds for obsidian. I'm gonna give them to you.
Emeralds.
I got you emeralds, so let me give them to you.
Bruh. I got this app
Here.
for nothing. I got
In
this
chest,
app for
in
nothing.
chest, in chest,
I
Matt,
got
in
this app
chest.
for nothing. I got this app for nothing. I am deleting. I'm deleting.
You okay? Like, are you physically and mentally stable? Jones barbecue and foot massage. Someone was sent to Davy Jones' locker by that. No. Okay, you need to stop.
Please.
Bro, this kid's hacking. Kill Laura. Incoming, Mad. Incoming. Get the.
Incognito? Oh.
No, incoming. Like, not like ink. I say ink. Ink. I
Oh my
see. No, you don't. You can't see, Mad. You're blind, Mad. But the delay is 3 seconds. You're a delay of 3 seconds.
What?
Mad, you gotta
Rip.
chill pill, okay? You gotta take a chill. Okay, did you put the... Okay. Oh my god! Oh my god, they're coming, Mad. They're coming. Get out, Mad. Get out. Get out. Get out. They're not
Sure.
coming.
Can I
Okay,
now
it's okay.
use this mouse? Does this mouse now work?
If it does, you're welcome.
Nope. Cam, you didn't help me.
Just follow what the guy says on the dang video. Restart your Xbox.
But it's not there. No, it's not there. There's a thing that you have to press on that's in the little app, and it's not there anymore.
Okay, well,
So,
look up,
he
like,
lied to me.
Fortnite. Is it Chapter 2? Is that what it is called? Is it Fortnite?
Yes.
Okay, then look up Fortnite Chapter 2, Xbox One, PC, Fortnite. Yeah.
Fortnite Chapter 2, Xbox One connecting keyboard and mouse.
Sure. Are you watching this on your dang TV? What the heck?
No, my phone.
Or is that... Oh, your phone.
Bruh.
Bruh. I'm gonna make it look like... It's... Who's echoing? Is that Fritz? Because
Yeah.
his mic is on the ground.
Bruh.
What upgrade are we getting? Get, oh my god, I am suck. Watch out, incoming blue, incoming blue, incoming blue, incoming blue. Bro, he doesn't know that we got, Obi, though.
I think I have to be on a PC. Like, I have to have a PC screen.
What? No. I literally played on a 75-inch screen back in, like, I don't know, like 2018. Is that when Fortnite came out? Yeah, no, it was like 2017, but still. In, like, 2018, that's when they released that feature.
Let me bleeping switch to...
No, I don't want them. You take them.
Barbecue and foot massage.
Oh, your mom's in the background. Is she doing that weird thing?
She's watching a show.
Oh, on your TV in your basement?
Yes.
Oh, what are you, bad boy Haley? You're getting freaking heel pool mad? Mad crazy moose.
Bro, this guy's just saying, "Oh, I went from control."
Green, if I do this jump, you let me. I'll let you. What? You let me. If I. No. Shout STFU. Oh, incoming, 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 incoming. This kid, blue. It's okay. It's okay. I got them.
I'm sad.
Jones, barbecue and foot,
I'm so
massage.
sad.
What we do, stack up. Okay,
Why
stacking
is it
up.
not working?
Move, mad.
Work game.
Bro, what a bot. He placed it wrong.
Work.
Oh, shoot. That's
I will press all the buttons on this keyboard. See if it works.
Is your keyboard even, like, on? Does it have, like, a power switch?
It is on.
What
It's
keyboard
on.
has a power switch? What am I
It's on.
I don't know.
It's on.
I will fix the
You
fence.
bolt.
Okay, Matt, you do that. I just realized what I said. That your keyboard has a power button.
Oh yeah, baby. It has a power button. I don't know what
Oh,
you're
yeah.
talking.
Oh my god.
Oh,
That
yeah.
incoming. Okay, well we got Obby, so we're
Me.
good.
Help me.
Hello?
Help me.
Fritz,
It's
did
still
you just
not
like run
working.
a marathon or something?
Yeah.
Oh god.
Fritz, it's still not working.
Then Fritz, I mean, you're a bot.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, is your keyboard broken or something? Like, did you like?
No, because it's working on everything else.
Is it in like? Did you put it in like a USB port that's like a display port or something?
Yeah.
Because sometimes like
up.
display ports and USBs don't look
Shut
exactly
up.
the same, and you can just like shove it in there, and it doesn't really matter. Hello, YT_Dipper_YT. They know we have Obby. Okay, well, they're bad. Okay, look at how he fast stacks. He doesn't even, like, fast stack correctly. He just, like, he does this. He goes one,
Why
and
do
then
people
one.
lie to me?
Yeah, he does that. What a bot. Okay, let's go, mister. I don't have any tools to break it, but I trust that you have it, okay?
Joe's barbecue foot massage.
I also don't have much blocks, and also my blocks are in the wrong position. Okay, they're gonna come and then we hit them off. Like that. Okay, got one. Got the other. Go. I cover you, I cover you.
Ruv.
Nope, I don't cover you anymore because I'm about to die, and I died.
Boy.
Did I say hello to you, Dipper, YT? Bro, Mad, are you slow? Hello? Did I cut out?
No.
Okay, good. I thought, Mad, are you... How am I slow? You threw a fireball at them.
I am going to, like, just break this keyboard. I'm just kidding.
Alright, I have a cool idea, favorite.
I didn't know it didn't
Sure.
break endstone. Then you're not and VIP worthy. Mister, why are you going low? Okay.
I'm sad.
Is
now.
it
I'm
literally just blue? Yeah. Oh, they don't even have a bed. Here, we should let them break our bed. We should let them break our bed. Okay, and then we have an even 1v1. Actually, let's not do that because they kind of have a chance to.
Alright, I'm gonna look at Xbox settings really quick.
Xbox doesn't have anything to do with this. I don't even need these.
Yes, it does.
It's literally, it's your face
Stop
that's
it.
doing it. I'm just gonna go kill them.
It's not
It's
my
your
face.
yeah, it is your face.
No, don't say that. Don't convince Xbox that it's my
Oh my
fault.
god, I am so dumb. Like, literally right when I get there, I can't even, like, hit a block correctly. We have 6 emeralds. Give them to me. Give them to me. Give them. Give them. I want to do something. It's in the chest. Ooh. So we get this. We get this. We get diamond sword, okay? Gotta make sure you got that, okay? And then once we get that diamond sword, we go back here and we get invis. What are you doing? And we get, oh, I meant to get speed. Whoopsies. Are you okay?
No.
I didn't get any blocks. I'm
Well,
slow.
this doesn't work anymore.
You don't work anymore.
Rose barbecue and foot massage.
Jones barbecue and foot massage. Give me
Joe's
gimme
a
diamonds.
barbecue
No, you
and
give
foot
me
a
diamonds.
massage.
Okay, watch this. I'm gonna go kill them
Joe's barbecue
with my
foot
OP
massage.
items. Okay, watch me win this, guys. Final kills. Where even are they? Oh, I see them.
Blah. Blah. I'm actually going to like kill somebody right now.
Excuse me? Oh my god, I'm in a block.
Joe's barbecue foot massage.
Oh, they have diamond swords. Of course they do. Okay, Mister, go. Mister, go. Mister, go. Mister, go. Mister, go.
Hey, Alec.
Go, Mister, go.
Alec, you're on, right?
Go, we can outnumber them. Actually, we don't outnumber them because, yeah, I'm slow. Is Alec here? Oh my gosh! We don't talk about that, okay? Guys, remember to like and subscribe to the video. Oh my god, I don't know what I just did. Oh, I think I just hurt my, like, vocal cords. Remember, guys, to like and subscribe to the video, or else Mr. Creepio will come in your bed and kiss you at night. I mean, Mad will. Mad will come in your bed, and he will physically assault you at night. Jones, BBQ, Mr. Creepio. No. Oh, it's Mr. Creepo, isn't it? It's probably Mr. Creepo. Did you guys leave or am I still here? Hello? Oh, Xbox Live is down right now. Excuse me? It's Mr. Creepo. I just realized that. Where's the last kid? I want to go kill him. Let me kill him, mister. Where's my friends? They're not in the party, aren't they? What the heck? Mister, let me kill him. I want to kill him. I want to get final kill. Okay, because I got like really OP stuff. I really don't. Because, yeah. First person to kill gets a rank on Minds Beef. I already have one. I'm the freaking Okay, let me join my friends again. Where even are they? Invite him. Oh, what? Hello? Did I cut out?
Hi.
To change the energy landscape by pioneering
Everybody
money-saving
died.
energy
Am I gonna
efficient
insta-die?
programs in building a new
I'm not gonna
industry in
insta-die.
Iowa, wind energy, all while keeping
Hello?
your rates low.
Fritz, help.
Hello.
We'll keep delivering
Fritz,
cost-effective
give me the
energy
power.
efficiency programs
What
while putting
power?
money
Give
back
me
in
the
your
power,
pocket.
Fritz.
That's right. You
Oh, I thought I
decide
gave
how
it to
best
you.
spend
Okay.
it.
Okay,
That's a partnership
No, I
between
already
give me
have
the
like
power.
that power, but
environment
just
and good for Iowa. Another way
I
we're
need the power,
accessibly
Fritz.
I did, I gave it to
relentlessly
you.
at your service.
Me.
Okay, I'm
Wait,
trying
what
to
are-
do something.
Fritz,
Okay?
what are you doing?
I'm trying to make like some sort of like Sky Wars, Bed Wars thing for Fortnite.
What?
I don't know. It's just an idea because creative has been getting. A
Should
little
I
boring,
download
so, like,
Fortnite?
if you want to, but like basically there's gonna be 2 teleporters down where you spawn that lead to 2 different islands, and there's gonna be 2 different teams that basically have to battle,
I'll
they
download
can
Fortnite and
only-
help you in a second. Let me.
and they
I
can
gotta
only
win
hold
this
like
game, though.
50 maps at a time, and they like build over to each other's
so
bases.
Okay, wait. I'll delete
Okay.
this, but I just want to see what this
And like
is.
if they get shot down, then like they die and stuff.
Whoa, that is big.
And then there's like
I
little
have like a.
there's like because they're so far apart, like snipers are really rare. But
Here, I'm
one
gonna spawn something in, but I'll
one
delete
group's
it.
base is
You were
better,
playing
but has
Fortnite on
worse
a Minecraft
guns.
stream? No, I was gonna say I was gonna download it. I don't have it. I used to have it, but then
Chris,
I
you see these rings
uninstalled
here?
it because my SSD was full.
Whoa, can you delete those?
Yeah, I can. I didn't know if they'd be cool or not.
Dude, this kid's a bot. Come back here, kid. He got my emeralds. Come
Goody
here.
goodness.
Boop, boop, boop. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Oh no! Oh, that's. I just got scared. Sorry, I got scared at my own teammate.
you guys will never
Should I
find
get
me.
MVP plus for streams? I don't care. I just got killed when I was looking at a thing from Microsoft Teams. What the
Wait,
heck?
now you guys will never find me.
God, why are you inviting me now? Also, why did
You will never
Microsoft
find me.
Teams just open out of the blue? I don't. It's freaking for my schoolworks. I need ASD. Huh?
You guys will never find me. Come and find me.
You need iron? I can't
I
give you
dare
any
you.
right now because I'm about to go kill people. I'll
Try
give you
and
gold
find
though.
me, Alec.
Here you go.
Never.
I
will you
can't.
ever.
I can't.
Not-
now?
not
no,
you.
I'll give you that. Look, here, come here. Boop. There, I dropped you 1 piece of iron. Okay, that's your daily
You'll
rations.
never find me.
That's your daily rations, man.
I'm not
actually-
trying to.
Okay, I'll get
Wait,
Fortnite
I
in
don't
a
know what
second.
just
Let me
happened.
just win this game. I'll go into Epic Games Launcher, and I'll download it. But it'll be on my hard drive, so it's gonna take like, not even. It's gonna probably take, cause I have like another games on there, and it only takes like 6 seconds to open. So, well, Minecraft. Anyone need iron armor? Yes, I do. Ah! Dude, this kid is
you did,
stacked. Why are you doing this, bro?
You found me.
Oh, oh, oh.
It's a pretty bad hiding spot. What the? What the? What the?
I have
What?
some gold in the
What?
chest. Okay, yeah, I need it. Mad, I need.
Whoa,
In
no.
chest is gold. Oh, thanks.
What is
Let's
happening
also
to
take,
you, Alec?
these, this, and I'll
Alec, what is
buy.
happening to you?
Alec is having a mental breakdown.
No, Everett's doing crazy stuff.
Like what? We need obby. Oh shoot!
Stuff.
Oh shoot!
That is
I
not
shouldn't
very
have
true.
broke. Oh shoot! Oh no! Whoops! I'll go get more. I was gonna go get a bed. F.
It won't let me become anything over here. Ooh.
Okay, well I'll see. I'm gonna be really bad at Fortnite because I'll probably only play what's it called? Creative, because get us the emeralds. I'll go get them back. Yes, I will. And also, what idiot person broke my bridge? I spent so long making it.
Gamer, kind of a
Good thing that they
toxic
broke it.
streamer.
You're a toxic stream.
Exactly my point.
This kid said hello and then just left.
To Alec. Alec, yes.
What a bot.
He'll never find us now.
Literally, there's no emeralds here. I can't get any if there's none there. Should I get yellow's bed? Oh wait, yellow doesn't have a bed.
I can't become a meteor. Why can I become that meteor?
You can become a meteor in that game? What the?
I'm a meteor now.
Alright, well I'm gonna go get
Please,
green's
no.
bed, because they don't have much bed defense. They
Wait,
just have
what
a
meteor
box.
are you?
Also,
I
they
can't
have...
be the big one, but
oh,
I can
wait.
be like the smaller ones. Can I become a house?
Do they have any kids
Cool.
there at their base?
I'm a meteor.
Oh my god. Oh my god, Everett.
Oh shoot! I picked the
I
wrong
am
time to
bed.
gapple, because they're all just right there.
Alec, don't make me find you.
And I didn't even hit...
Gosh.
How am I here?
I can't go anywhere.
How
too
is this
big.
Get out of
possible?
that,
I
get out
can't
of that,
build
stop.
there. What the heck?
I can get you out.
How is this even possible? Do you
Everett,
see?
stop moving.
This is the OP spot. Should I just sit here the whole game and
I'm
if
now
I
out.
die? Sorry, mister. I'm so
Joel, I just-
I
sorry.
am
on the
such
bottom
a
of the island.
small-brained man. Here, we're gonna
Alec.
fix it.
Oh
Alec,
no.
my car.
No,
I'm
I
the
literally got
biggest
stuck in the
small brain
wall.
Ever.
Can I be Kevin? No, I can't be Kevin.
666.
Where's the thing? Where's the thing? Where's the thing?
Oh, I'm stuck. Yep, okay. I'm
Where's
just
the
stuck
Can
in
you guys-
here.
thing?
Not.
Yeah, can you guys like shut up? Kidding. No, I'm
How about
joking.
you?
What? Excuse me?
You're excused.
Oh my gosh.
Give me all the diamonds.
Everett.
No.
What? Where are you, Alec?
I don't know.
I'm gonna go get us some
Alec,
more
what'd you do?
emeralds because I kind of spent them
I
all.
did something that was a bad, but I'm gonna fix it now.
I just kind of like went out of the top barrier. Can I make it to the normal island from here? Wait, where is
Oh,
the main
F.
island?
I had to.
just-
I paused. I
Why
thought,
is this game so
and then I
bad?
died. Green's incoming. Green's incoming.
Did you go over the roof too, Alec?
I can't even run now.
Alright, boys,
Can't
you guys
fly
are gonna be my test
fast.
subjects, okay?
Oh gosh.
No, it's
Where's-
fun. It's like
oh,
a
I
minigame.
thought
It's
I
just a
saw
minigame. It's just a
one.
minigame.
It was probably I was. Also
Fritz,
get emeralds. Okay, I'm getting them
Yes?
right now.
Fritz, can you come to the meteors real quick?
Yeah.
I
You
probably
deleted the
thought
meteor
we
cell.
were. I probably
I
thought we
didn't
were
delete
green.
it, okay?
Oh my lord.
What are these particles? What?
Okay, Mister, you gotta stop stealing my. Okay,
Wait,
Matt.
and I had stuff on
Matt,
there.
are you okay there? Do you need help?
You guys will never find me now.
Mad! They're breaking our bed!
My gosh, Everett, stop! You're breaking everything.
What am I
Oh
doing?
my
What?
god, they
Huh?
broke our
Guys,
bed.
can you just
I'm
not
everything
mess
wrong.
with the prop guns?
Yeah, Everett.
I'm not here. I'm not
Oh,
here.
bot. He fell in the void.
Alec.
What a bot. Okay, well, Mister, it's up to. Ah!
Alec.
Never mind, Matt. It's up to you.
Never fear.
State Farm is here.
You better
Here.
clutch this. I don't.
Alec, did you
Everett,
see how
what are
big I
you-
became?
Unless he has like.
Did you see how big
There's
I
literally
became?
a straight
What?
line to their bed right here. There's a. Oh, never
Never
mind.
fear.
I saw a hole there.
Alec, did you see how
Here,
big
wait,
I
I'm
became?
just gonna not
Wait, watch
intervene with
this.
Fritz, and I'm just gonna go
Watch
back
how
to the
big I
hub.
become.
Just leave him.
I know Mister's alive,
Hey, Everett, we should
but
do like a thing.
But
Alright, do you guys want to try this out for me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we can.
okay.
Here,
While
let
I'm
me go back
waiting
in.
for this game to install, I'll get
Alright, what do we do now?
Epic Games launcher.
Oh, bro, you put a vending machine up here?
Okay, hold on.
Where's Epic
So
Games
I need you guys to
launcher?
go down to the house.
Okay.
Epic
I
Games
can't run for some reason. Like I can't
Whee!
go fast while flying.
Oh, press the down
Okay.
arrow a couple times.
Oh, that makes sense.
Mad, calm down, okay?
Okay, I'm by the house. Wait, which house?
Okay,
Literally
library.
any.
Did
Just don't
Fortnite
get
actually
islands.
install? No, shoot. No, stop. I want you
Okay,
to
but
install
now
on
we're
another
gonna
hard
do
drive.
this.
Stop it,
Damn
Matt.
it. You figured me out.
Exactly. So don't settings.
Alec,
Can we
I
change
wanna
the
try
install
something.
place to another drive? Fortnite bad? Well, I want to play with my friends. So lobby. I gotta go to lobby real quick. Is someone
Who said
stream
Fortnite's
sniping?
bad?
Some kid, some kid in my game.
Dude, Fortnite is a game for
Fight us.
intellectuals.
Why you quit? Cause I quit. Okay.
God, Everett, I can't move.
I gotta find how to do
You
this.
never will be able to move
Just a
again.
sec. What is happening? That was me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But can I like send this to another drive? You stupid dumb idiot. Oh, do I have to install this on?
Alright,
I
that's
have to
pretty
reinstall the
basic.
stupid Epic Games launcher. He needs to download the world's worst game. Yep, Mad. That's yep. So let me find Epic Games
Why would you
launcher.
do that, Alec?
So let's
Stop
just
turning into stuff, man.
delete that.
It's driving me crazy, man.
Oh my god,
I'm
that
sorry, I'll stop,
took
I'll stop.
literally 6 seconds.
I'll stop! I'll stop!
I just want to see if I can no scope hit you.
Oh my gosh, no scope.
Where are you? Where are you?
Okay, let's see if it,
No, I'm
Let's
not
see if
fighting you, I
that,
just have a prop gun. 1v1 me prop gun.
cancel. Okay, so it did.
Oh my
It did
gosh,
delete. Are we going? Yes, we are gonna do something. Just let me download.
Hey, whoa,
Fortnite
chill
again.
out, buddy. Chill
Okay, but
out.
I gotta put it on another drive. So
You're cheating, you're flying!
I gotta just reinstall the whole freaking
This is cheating.
PC slash
Flying is
Mac.
cheating.
Oh shoot! Did I just download it twice? Yeah, I did. Cancel that one. I'm canceled, guys. I actually want
Cam
to.
is canceled because he
I will never be found.
did stuff.
I'm not doing both spleef duels. No, not now.
Never again will I be hurt. Like I was
No, we're
before.
not doing a 1v1v1. No, I'm not doing that. Because we can't even do that. Okay,
No.
so
No,
I want it to go
No, I got
onto
bullied.
my D
I got
drive.
bullied. Stop it. Stop it. Stop.
Because it's hard
Stop.
drive.
Oh god.
Create a new folder. Epic
Was that like 10
Games.
HP?
I see that.
I was bullied today.
Yes, install, please, you stupid, dumb. Okay, okay. The dual request from that person has stopped. Installing DirectX. I have DirectX like 12.
If you ever find me, just like
me check.
admire the work that I have done.
DX Diag. I'm so.
What have you
Why are
done?
you so F word?
You will never find me here. It is too camouflage.
Okay, yeah, I have DirectX 12.
Okay, guys, could you do me a favor?
Yeah,
And
can
go
you
up
guys
to
do me a
over
favor
here,
and shut?
Can you do me a favor and go to the right island? The one that, guys, Everett.
Okay.
Everett.
Yeah.
Could you go to the right island? Okay.
I'm
The
lagging.
bigger
Yeah.
one. And tell me what's in the vending machines?
Which one?
The big one that has the green trees
Tree
on
house.
it.
They both have green trees.
Oh, just choose one, okay, and
Can
tell
I
me.
see my
Okay.
ping? No.
Okay, it has. One of them has infantry rifles, one of them has a blue burst.
Okay.
What else would you like me to do?
Nothing.
Alec, where did you hide?
Okay.
Stop hiding from me.
I'm not.
I am also not.
Okay,
hiding.
hello,
Well, I'm hiding in plain
Faded.
sight, I guess I
Welcome
could say.
to stream. Why did Epic Games
Yeah.
Launcher? Moose, you got problems. Yeah, you do got problems, Moose, okay? I don't know, I'm trying to
Okay,
download
so
Fortnite
when
at
you
the same
start,
time, so-
glide down to the ground, okay?
Oh,
Just follow me, okay?
So Fritz, you're making Bed Wars inside of Fortnite.
Not really. It's just like I don't know what I'm making.
we can
Alright.
barely see.
So like
And
Sky
one of you
Wars?
guys choose.
Is Fritz still
one
like
and the
good
other
at
choose
that
the other.
game?
I'll go A. No wait.
Boom.
Yeah.
Is Fritz still good at Fortnite?
All right, I'm just gonna go into
Yes.
B for yeah.
Do I take
sure.
one?
Sure.
No, take both if you want. Okay. And
Okay.
farm up some mats. Do you get mats, Everett?
Yeah, they added the generator,
No.
didn't
Yeah,
they?
I can't break stuff.
Did they add a generator to that game
Shopping
and
for
to
insurance can be
creative?
time-consuming.
That's why when
Like
it comes
that
to your auto and
generated
home
mats.
insurance needs, make things simple and trust the experts at Allstate.
Yeah, there's like a
You get the
way to
coverage
like
that
make
fits your
it,
needs
cause
while
like I've
helping you
seen the
bundle your
game
auto
mode.
and
I
home.
don't know what game mode it
Bundling
was,
saves
but
you
there
money
can
and
you can
time.
like
So you can
it'll
enjoy
give
the
you
things
mats
that
over
matter most.
time.
Well, no, they literally made a BEDWARS inside of Fortnite once. I played it.
Are you in good hands? Not
Then
available
you
in other
hacked.
states. Subject to terms, conditions,
He
and
has
availability.
sniper?
Savings pairs. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company, Allstate
Or
Fire
maybe it was,
All I
I
have
don't
is
know
a
what it
hunting
was.
rifle. It's not
Insurance Company
overpowered.
affiliates.
Hunting
that's
rifles
true.
are still in. Oh yeah, because it's creative.
Bruh.
Bruh.
Ooh, customized particle effects.
All right, let's try to get Obi. I'm gonna probably go get Green's bed because they got literally
Yeah,
two
mom, get a
people.
sniper.
Dude,
you
there
talk to
should
your
be
mom
the
about
Infinity
Fortnite?
Blade.
They don't.
We
don't they-
have. Yeah, they have it in creative.
Oh my God.
That's
Wait,
this
wait.
guy-
What's the difference between a compact SMG and a submachine gun? Legendary.
Literally nothing.
I mean, one
Okay,
of them
try
is
it again.
the rate of fire is faster.
Dude, this kid! Why do they have
Again,
endstone
okay.
already? How?
Choose which one you
Same
want.
places.
How?
I
and
want
why?
this
Same
one.
place.
This is mine.
Alright, now try breaking something.
I can't.
Just a second.
We have endstone too, lol, because you literally sit in the in the
Yeah,
gym
I just
for
don't
like an
get
hour
mats.
straight,
What?
and oh my
What
God,
setting
Red's
is
here,
that?
Red is here.
What? You said, oh my God, Fritz?
I said, oh my God, Red is here.
Oh, you said, oh my God, Fritz. Red is
Well,
here. I was like, what?
Yeah, no, that. I'm kidding. We have endstone 2, lol. I have. Yeah, I know I do.
Alec.
Hey guys, blue team is gonna crush y'all. Shout your teammate just.
Everett, you know, if I
left.
1v1'd you, I would clap you so
Lol.
hard. Everett, it'd be
It's a
like the
lie.
clap in the default dance.
My stream crashed. I just said our teammate just left, lol. My.
Wait, Everett, stop.
I just said
You're actually
our
toxic.
stream just crashed.
Stream
I'm gonna
sniping.
land the same place.
A disappointment.
Everett, I'm on the same tree. Let me just show you the definition of what you are.
Mad, are you watching this stream? Why am I watching this? Valkyrie says, because you are a special child.
Get over here. Get over here, buddy. Are you scared?
Bro, what the heck? I'm lagging,
Oh.
aren't I?
Alright, try it now. Also, fall damage is on, so you can't just jump off.
Valkyrie
it made me
said, why am
instantly
I
deploy.
watching this?
This
You're
would
watching
be a
it
little
because
bit.
you're a good child.
Alright, just join
And
whatever
also,
one you
I think
want.
he has TNT.
I might
so
honestly just go to the island.
Yeah.
to
What
the
is he
ice spawn
doing?
on.
I'm
Which
lagging.
one am I going to? The one that I usually pick? or
I'm
the
It
one
literally
doesn't-
right
it doesn't
here,
matter. Just choose whatever one you want.
Bro, I'm lagging.
And
Okay,
these are only the first two.
I
like,
can
there's
get
gonna be,
mats now.
maybe
I
like
am
10.
lagging.
Yeah, you should be able to get mats.
Heck, I need to go
Now
restart.
see how
or is
many
he
you can hold.
lagging?
Like break into like you.
You are
should
a
be
new
able to hold
subscriber. Well,
30 at a
thanks for
time, right?
subscribing, bro. iSlowYT.
What?
Thanks for subbing. We are
How
all
much
lagging. Yeah, I think.
mats?
Yeah,
I think
only have
Hypixel's
30.
having a little
Yeah,
trouble.
okay, that's good. You should only be able to hold 30 each.
Mister, I'm coming
30.
to help you.
It just prevents people from mining all the resources and then building over the other islands.
Jeez.
Mister, go, Mister, go. I'll do it. I'll protect
Not
you.
enough.
But like, you
Mister,
feel
go.
I
better,
Oh
like,
God, you died, Mister. Oh God.
Oh gosh.
I almost fell
Yeah,
off because of a glitch spot.
Yeah, just thanks for subbing, bro. Valkyrie, and who are you playing with? I'm playing with my
yes,
a
and then
staff member on my
Playing with
server,
Fortnite.
and
each
a
island will have like maybe like
friend of
another
of the
generator or
staff
something.
member. So
So like, I think the one that Everett's building over to might have something like.
oh,
legendary.
that's fun.
The
Ooh.
I found
did
two
that
Fort Knox
happen?
on my island. You
How
want me
did
to
that
drop 'em?
happen?
Sure, yeah, probably.
Are they even supposed to
But this
be
might
there?
not even have anything. I'm not sure.
He was invis. I can't see if they're invis.
Wait, I'm
I
scared.
know.
don't
I
what
can't
island I
see
should
him,
build
so you
to.
can't blame me.
So in
Is there
theory,
only
you're supposed
one?
to. Yeah. Okay. So right now there's only two.
Next
I'm so
time someone
confused.
rush diamond. What?
Yikes.
Oh, we got
So,
yeah, rush diamond
In
for.
theory, you
I almost fell
like
off.
in the future there'll be like I don't know, maybe like 4, 5, maybe even
For
10
traps,
islands.
yeah, I know.
and you'll choose which one you go to, and they'll
Alright,
all
well,
have
I'm
like
gonna go
different
get Green's
perks and
bed.
stuff.
Because never mind.
And like one, you
What
might be able
the?
to hold more mats.
Can
the
you
other,
build,
you might get
build?
better guns.
Go get
Ever
red,
seen
I
Toxic?
on and on.
guess.
I'm not being toxic. I'm shooting you. 'cause
Yeah, we
I
gotta
see
get
you.
red. Oh, Mister died too. F.
Oh! I just cracked your shield too. No. Yeah, you have to go back
Cracked.
to your
He's
respawn island,
he's
right?
cracked, guys. Oh my god. Okay.
Evan, there's a sniper somewhere.
On his island.
No, somewhere else. It's
okay,
on
well, I'm
a
not
cough
gonna
cough
fast
meteor. Cough.
because I feel like I'm gonna fall.
Wait,
Okay,
what?
Mad.
My
Uh,
gosh. No. I
Let's
have to
rush.
build
Wait,
to
let's
the
go over here so we
meteor.
don't take as much fall
Bruh.
damage. Shoot! I am slow. I'm slow. I'm slow. I'm slow. I'm
I
slow.
do not have the mats for
I'm slow. I'm
building
slow.
up
I'm
to the
slow. I'm
meteor.
slow. I'm slow. Okay.
It's
What was I
Please
gonna
don't
do
shoot
now?
down.
Whoops! I didn't mean to do that. Can we
Did
go
you
to
just
a new
shoot
game?
down?
Please do not spam the command.
Yeah, but basically,
Yeah. Can we
Like,
download
later
Fortnite
on,
now?
you should be able to like
Library.
have like a big fight and
Well,
stuff.
me and
I might.
Alec are kind of 1v1ing. No, no.
Is this
Dude, I
downloaded?
Also-
Barely.
I
enough
don't
stuff
want
like,
to
get over.
download
No,
on my
what?
stupid SSD, you stupid
I'm sorry, I
idiot.
just
How
wanted
do
to
I
do
change
that.
it? Downloads. Can I change it so it doesn't
Oh, that thing hurts.
download?
Exactly.
I am.
No knocking down.
I will defend.
No.
Okay, well I always
No.
rush. Don't I always? Or rush.
Oh, I'm dead.
Rush
I'm dead.
diamond. Okay. All right.
Okay, but yeah, like if you guys wanted to help, like you'd be able to like customize like your own class and like
Okay,
your
let's
own
see.
island and stuff.
Oh my gosh. Goodness
This
gracious,
isn't a
guys.
sniper.
I was trying to do the thing where you go in like a
It was supposed to be,
whatever.
but you know that's
It's,
okay.
it's sort of a sniper.
Okay, mister, you are taking all of the
Oh!
freaking resources. Get out.
Yeah, like later on, I turn like respawn off.
Also, I feel like we should be able to hold like 40 mats. Maybe.
But that makes it thrilling because then like you have to go back to your base every time.
I mean, yeah.
It's annoying and repetitive.
True.
Exactly why I quit the game in the first place.
Well, oh, I just
No.
bought another sword. I didn't
No.
mean to do that.
I'm dead.
No.
I'm dead.
Ford dealership, no.
You're dead. Thing from thrilling.
No.
Yeah, I know, right? Thrilling.
The
have to
rapid
go back to
SMG
your
is
spawn
such a. I hit him
Was there anything
point
at this
blank
island?
range. I hit him in the head for
Alex, there was
what,
nothing at this
26. Yeah, I'm on my island. I just
island, right? No,
dropped
but there's
there
nothing
'cause-
at this island.
All right, do you guys want to help me build this?
I
and,
just
like,
threw
create some
away.
more islands?
Help, help. What do you mean help?
Yeah. But maybe
Everett,
snipers.
stop.
Oh,
You
doesn't
need
that
help
hurt?
still?
That one,
No.
just
Okay,
the
good.
one headshot.
I'm being bullied by Fritz. Actually, you be bullied by Fritz.
All right, do you guys want to help me build some more islands?
Sure.
Sure. I don't care.
Keep bridging, bridging. You mean?
Okay, what do you guys think would be fair for
Get a
more
trap.
guns?
Okay, I'll get a trap here.
Like, they have to be blue and they have to be like reasonable.
I feel like you shouldn't
Just get a
spawn with a
bunch.
hunting rifle, cause like, I don't
You
know.
think 100 rifles too OP?
I think
Okay, I need
so.
this stuff
It's just
for-
it's too much of a sniper to spawn with,
Okay.
Is it?
Well,
in my
well,
opinion.
We'll come
Yeah,
back.
I
to
mean,
that.
hunting. I guess it's okay.
Oh wait, so we're doing blue
It's
weapons
okay.
only, right?
Yeah,
Or
blue
just-
opens
Yeah.
only. I'm gonna, but like on
I
other
feel as if-
islands, like the meteor has a purple infantry.
Alec, you bully
and this one will have,
everyone.
like, a
Don't even
legendary
sir.
shotgun or something.
Wait, how do you know his name? Oh, because
Bruh,
we're
we
all
should just
calling
give
him
like
Alec.
the
I'm
hardest thing to get to. If we ever put like this
Big
hardest
brain.
thing to ever get to,
Oh wait, what they say about me?
A-
Huh?
They said that.
Um,
Why are you bullying?
jackal-
Oh, blues
jackal
here, blues
launcher.
here, blues here. They got TNT. They got okay.
on the
bullying
hardest
someone.
island to get to.
They got
so if
TNT
we make like one
and
that's like
fireball.
super
I don't know
high
why they
stat, it's
PvP with
really hard to get to,
fireballs. They also got like a
Then we
diamond.
could do a
pick,
blue
'cause
jackal
they're
launcher.
bot.
That'd be pretty cool.
They wasted my trap.
What should be in this one? A scoped assault rifle?
Yes,
I mean,
assault
why not?
guys. I feel like we should rush to school with one of those.
One, I'm
When
gonna
you
like
say
get
that
you
on stream-
demonetized from live cam.
I don't
that
think
on
I'm monetized at all.
Well, your YouTube will never succeed.
There we go.
Did I ever say
Okay.
it was gonna?
Should we give it more Weapons
You're
and
acting
just-
like it will with the
No,
content
no,
you
no.
upload.
It's only allowed to have.
I
one-
don't.
like,
I
one
don't.
item
Lit-
to
I
decide
upload
for.
like the crappiest content ever. It's
Give me
literally
a
like
weapon.
it's just streams, and then music.
That's copyrighted.
Most of it, some of it is, but not all of it. So I mean, yeah.
Wait, what
1v1 me,
islands do we
Alec.
need to like? Can I copy this?
No. So just go into creative, go over to prefabs, and then just find a island that looks pretty good.
Pretty
I know
sick.
it's bad content.
Either
okay,
do-
Faded,
There's
you
only
you
90.
have an upload schedule
Yeah,
of
and-
like
Oh, there's 4.
I don't. It's like
Well,
seeing
This
my
looks different.
calendar. It's so
One's Kevin.
empty right
I feel
now.
like
We just
Kevin should
put,
be like the
like, a
mid
temple.
island.
We just put like a temple in there somewhere.
Yes, a
'Cause, like-
temple.
Yes.
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 Okay, I'm gonna go. I have the best videos. Matt, you haven't.
Kevin
you posted.
Lake House. Kevin destroyed House Island. Kevin destroyed Dino Island. Kevin destroyed Cube Island.
okay, so I'm gonna place down.
Are you still
one,
talking about
uh,
Fortnite, or are you talking from Kevin from The Office? My favorite character
Fortnite.
from The Office.
See, like, but
Bruh,
here's
your
the island.
favorite.
My favorite.
Like, Fritz, do you see this big one?
Cause I watch it too freaking
No,
much.
this should be the center island. This should be
Okay,
like
going
That's what
to
I
get
was
where
saying.
dead
everybody meets
bed.
up. Yeah.
Cause they
So, like,
literally
replace-
suck.
Wait, what's
Hold on,
this?
this needs to
What even is
break.
that?
Boop, 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 boop.
Oh wait, there's a real Kevin right here. Boing.
Yeah, I feel like yeah, just get rid of Kevin.
Okay,
I
wait.
feel like
Okay,
we
go,
should
go, 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 go.
back
Cam,
more.
I'm on mine,
You see
Steve,
this
by the way. The
Fritz?
Office should be in Fortnite, then I'd play it. See, I'm only gonna play it because my friends are playing it, and I feel
We have to
left
break
out.
everything, but okay. Sure, let's do
I'm
it.
kidding, I don't feel left. Actually, I kinda do feel left out because they are all bad and mean to me.
Real slick, Cam.
Stop, Everett.
We
I'm trying
can't
to
hear
do
you.
this.
I know, that's the problem!
Everett, stop.
Oh, mad. Oh, no, mad.
Okay,
Oh,
I'm done,
no.
I'm done, I'm
Alright, I'm
done.
gonna go get Red's bed. Is Red's bed gone? No, not yet. How did they get stuff so back fastly? My English. Oh god.
What are you guys doing? What did you place up there?
We placed a big island, so we're deleting
Why?
everything. I want to see how big it was. It's probably a good mid island. That's what.
Oh
that's
shoot,
what I-
oh shoot, oh shoot.
Okay, so
Watch out, red. Oh shoot, what bro? What are you doing?
No scope. No scope. No scope. No scope.
there, is that far enough back? That's pretty far.
Yes.
Where's it? Oh yeah, it's fine. Then it should be like right in the center of mid island.
Bot. Alright, watch this, watch this.
Whee.
And then just to make things fair, I'm gonna put a dude right there.
Miss Fuller is shook. How do you, what? Who are you? Valker_E. Who is this? Do you guys know who that is on YouTube? Because they know my teacher's name.
Do you talk about your teacher in stream?
No, I didn't!
I don't know. I was just asking.
Oh, wait. No, what the heck? I will never. Is it
Cam's
just?
freaked out to an obvious person that is just.
I know all of you.
Goes
It
to
probably
our
is Miss
school.
Fuller. Does Miss Fuller ever use?
Do you know who it is, Alex?
Probably not.
It's. Wait. Let me. It's probably not Miss Fuller, because why would. Okay, I'm just gonna look up their YouTube. Oh, I found it. 51 subs. Wow.
You're almost as better than
Okay.
Cam.
Shut up. I have 62. Let's look at this
Ooh.
video. I think it has a video of them in it. Wait.
What should be in this one over
This-
here?
No, it doesn't
Do
have
they
the
know
video
what the
in it.
who the
Revolver.
principal is?
Yes, it is Miss Fuller. It's not Miss Fuller. I'm not that.
Do they know
dumb.
who the principal is? Ask them who the principal
Oh,
is.
I see. It's a it has. They have a video of me. It's Cam and Billy's wedding. Hashtag God. Oh, it's Addie. It's Addie. That's who it is.
Really?
Or is it Shay? But no, they have a video of me. Camo got DDoS. It's more of DOSed, not DDoSing. Like they're exposing who I am. But they have a video of me getting, oh, we won. And I got literally
Good job, Cam. You won. Should we delete these lower?
It's either
islands
Addy
so
or
there's more
Shay.
space to put stuff?
What lower islands?
but they have a video of
Like
me
not
and
lower
a
islands,
stuffed
but like the
animal
lower
getting
structures down here,
married.
like the house.
Yeah, break all that stuff. Or what you want.
They
Couldn't
have
it be
a video
anybody
of
else?
me and a stuffed animal getting. Oh, okay. Mad just timed out my friend. Okay, Mad, why did you do that?
So who do you think it is?
It's either Addy or Shay.
But which one do you think it is?
It's probably Addy, because Shay has a different YouTube channel. But they have a video. You guys remember Billy when it was like literally the last day of school, and I was getting,
Oh, yeah, like-
and I got married to a freaking stuffed animal.
Nope.
Yeah.
You don't remember that, Everett?
I don't remember anything.
Cam party me. Okay, P invite faded. I got married to a stuffed animal because they were selling them, and I was like, sure.
Where were they selling
Ask them who
though?
they are.
They were selling at the store thing. What was it called?
Oh.
A stuffed animal.
Ask
yes.
them who they are. Seriously.
No, because my stream mod timed them out for tossing me.
No.
For being toxic?
No, for dossing me, which is like exposing my stuff on stream.
Oh, there's fall damage
Wait,
on.
the party invite from Ducks for Life. What? Who was that? Who's Ducks for Life? I don't.
Wait, okay, what should this island include?
Camera Rush Diamond since you fell.
Have on
Fine,
it?
whatever. Let me.
I don't know.
Fine. I'll go Diamond. Cam
you
got
should
DOSed.
put.
Yes, I did. And Mad literally deleted their
This
message
should
and timed
have
them out.
a.
Because Mad is good moderator on stream chat. Why is Blue here?
Cause they can be.
Wait, you can look at the map
Yes, that's
now?
what. I
on this
don't. They're my
place?
friend. I don't
Bruh.
care. Except I can still see them. I know. So can I. Cause we are. Because I am streamer and you
And
are.
I'll give this one a
Just untime them out. Like, can't you just make it so they're not timed out?
Should I give this one a
Nope.
suppressed pistol?
That's not how that works. Oh, there's a kid there.
Yeah, just untime them out. Like,
You
just
can't
take them
do
out of
that.
timeout.
They're timed out for like
Just
6 years. They're actually no, it's more like 5 minutes. Or not even 5 minutes. I don't even know how. It's
Alright, are these
300
their guns,
seconds.
Everett?
300 divided by 60.
yes.
Do that math.
Okay, and then come over to this island.
Exactly, neither do
Everett,
I. That's
come
why
over
I'm
here.
asking you.
I'm coming.
6
This
minutes. There it is.
Is this
Oh.
blue revolver good?
Oh wait, of course.
I think so.
And then
Easy
oh, this island
math.
doesn't have anything.
Yes. Okay, after this, I'm gonna see why can't I'm gonna move the program files over to my hard drive, cause for free iron armor and chest, I need that, sir. Please.
What are you doing, Everett?
I don't know.
He is being a meanie. Here's some diamonds.
Yes, I am.
I'll go over here and get some more.
I'm such a meanie, guys.
Yeah,
Can you-
God.
Wait, there's I just.
I think I got everything on the lower level
Fritz.
except for like the little starting
Fritz.
thing.
So you
And
see
the rift's
this
gone. Why is
RPG
the
I
rift
have in my
gone?
hand, right?
Yeah.
I should have listened to the audio.
You
I
guys have
could
to
have
make
known
rifts
who
anyway,
it was.
right?
I think it's either Shay or
Fritz.
Addy.
Guess what?
But they haven't responded in
Wait,
chat again,
what?
so they're timed out. Okay,
Wait, where are you
oh,
guys?
Wait,
F.
Exactly.
Why is it gray? Are there gray RPGs in the game?
No.
Yeah. There is.
There's gray RPGs. That's a thing.
No.
I didn't know that was a thing.
No, they're not
vaulted.
invis.
They're vaulted.
No, they're not invis.
Hey, Everett, jump.
They're not invis.
Oh gosh, I'm scared. Oh, I'm sorry. Are we doing rocket ride? I thought you were trying to kill me at first.
Here,
Oh,
go over here,
gosh.
go over here.
I want to rocket ride somebody.
Oh my god! Rocket
I want to try my
riding.
luck at rocket riding.
I thought they patched that like 8
No,
years ago.
no. This is where we stop. This is where we stop.
This is where we stop. I'm getting rid of the evidence.
Play
Alright, I'm
4v4v4
rocket
next.
riding
No, I'm gonna
somebody
say
over here if you
4v4. I'm gonna play
It's
4v4.
in the open island space, so
Your
nothing wrong with it.
KB is back? What do you mean KB? Kills.
That never happened.
So
We'll
what's
play
your
4v4s
hunting?
next.
And a silenced SMG. That's actually pretty good.
Alright, come to
What happened
Big
to
Mountain
this
Alec
island?
if you want a rocket ride.
Why are there just floating trees?
No, it was a prefab. It's fine.
Oh, okay.
Who's
What's
fast?
at
Do you
this
want a
one?
rocket ride?
Revolver. Oh, nice.
Come
What?
to
Cam,
Big
how many
Mountain if
wins do you
want a
have?
rocket
I think
ride.
I have like over. I don't know.
Combat shotgun and
I don't know. Check my profile.
no.
I don't know how
Face
many
this
wins
Bro,
I
why
have.
does RPG sound so weird?
Because they
Wait, can I do
patched
it?
it.
Can I do it? I want to do it. Let me do it.
Well, you have to send me this way. You have to send me
What's
this.
what
Yeah,
is
I know
the
I will.
middle
Drop
island?
it,
What
drop
should
Yeah, I
be
don't
the
have any
middle island?
Drop
blocks.
it.
How am I supposed
Ow.
to? Oh.
What should be the middle
Oh,
island?
wait, we
guys?
won? Oh no, I'm
big
just
one.
Hypixel
To Alex,
160.
you're doing this on purpose. I know you won't.
No, I'm not. Okay, I'm just. I actually have not done this before. Don't jump towards me.
-1
can't
wins.
try.
Oh my gosh. Here, jump up more.
I almost died.
Yes.
See, I did it.
Yes.
ASD. What
Oh,
is
no,
I
every
hit
ASD?
you
time.
once. I hit
Keep
you
dying.
once.
Oh.
I was just trying to see if I could hit you because it's
I'm
super
at
shaky.
6 HP.
Okay.
Is that too
Now
high?
can I try rocket riding you? Can I try rocket riding you? Please?
Oh
middle
my
island too
god!
high? Is
Whoa!
the middle island too
Please.
high?
No.
I'll drop it.
Is
I
the
said
middle
what I
island
said.
too high?
I was just about. Oh, he's
I
right
know.
here.
Let
What a
me look.
freaking
No, it's
idiot!
not.
Oh jeez.
No, but I,
I mean
think
that
it's
is very
good because,
high, but
because then it forces the players
Dude,
to build
dude,
up
dude.
more.
Actually,
Yeah.
no. Wait. There's the gravitation.
What do you mean you
thing,
feel
isn't
betrayed?
there?
I'll be back, guys.
wait, is there?
Like,
No,
you
I
know
don't
the
think
thing
there
where
is.
it's
One
like-
more
No.
level for UHC.
No. I almost just fell to my death.
I'm gonna put like golden guns.
Let me
in this
listen
one.
to this person. I don't have them. I don't
Okay,
have.
Alec, come.
I
let
wonder,
me
does
rocket
Kevin
ride
do
you.
that
What
thing
the
where he
heck did
zaps people?
Oh, it's Shay.
let
It is
me
Shay.
rocket
I
ride
just looked at
you.
her other
Okay, I'm
videos.
almost-
It is Shay.
Nerd.
Yeah, nerd. Why are you looking at my thing, Shay?
Nerd.exe.
You are weird. And also,
How
how
would I die?
Fall damage.
I'm so.
Mister. Okay, let's change.
Nerd.exe
Let's open
has stopped
File
working.
Explorer. Lol, this is so obvious. Well, I'm not subbed to your stupid channel.
Alright. No, I'm rocket
What?
riding.
That it's Shay?
Yeah, it is Shay.
Alright, just
Do
jump
I-
when
Okay.
you're ready.
We go back to program files.
First
We
try.
find.
Cam, you should stream TF2.
No,
Ow.
Oh,
we
I
will-
got him. I tapped him.
And we just
He doesn't
literally
even
move-
have TF2.
Exactly.
And he still made a Meet the Pyro video.
Yeah, because Parker told me to.
If Parker
You know-
jumped off a cliff, wouldn't
Don't-
you?
Alec.
Yes.
Wait.
Same.
Wait, can RPGs collide in the air? Alec.
I don't know. 3,
Science.
2, 1.
Oh,
Oh, they can't.
no, they missed. They missed each other.
Can we just like
Why you so
move?
mean to
That
me?
sound you
Where'd
made.
it go? Oh, it's an in the wrong program's house.
What are we doing anymore? I don't know what we're doing.
You guys are
Fight me.
weird.
Fight me, Alec.
Okay, green.
RPG. Oh gosh.
90.
Okay, yup.
So 90% of this server.
Here, no, you can't fly. You
90%
can't
of
fly.
server
Make it
are
illegal to
breaking.
fly.
Huh?
RPG
It's
only.
okay.
RPG only. Pa.
Rocket ride me, bro.
Why did you send me copy this?
Don't. Okay, there we go.
Why did you send me a link? I don't even wanna. I don't wanna
Suck.
open it. 'Cause I feel. You like my vids? That's creepy, Shay.
Who likes whose vids? Cause Cam doesn't make that
Worst
many
day ever.
vids.
25 subs.
Oh, rocket ride, rocket
Oh
ride.
God.
We have crisis.
Wait, can I hit you?
I think I missed my bus.
Yes, you can. You very much can. You very much
What are
can.
you
Gonna
doing?
watch.
Cam, what are you doing?
I was watching Shay. You can advertise your stream without a link on Hypixel. Slash chat all. So how do I say it? Just like, come on my, I'm not gonna do it.
I'm coming, Alec.
Okay.
I'm coming.
Oh my god!
Stop it.
Don't expose me. I'm not gonna play it on stream.
got
I
the
was just
most
playing the
toxic gun
music
in
in the
the
background
game.
because I didn't want to see what I wanted to see what it
Dude,
was.
this gun is actually like just.
Alec,
Come
that's
to
so
my
so
stream.
cool.
Cam on Wii is my stream.
Oh
We are playing BEDWARS game and having fun. Come watch my stream. Channel name Cam on Wii YT. Fine. Chat.
Wow,
all.
Cam, you're so good at
Come
promoting
watch.
your channel.
Yeah, I'm
Fight me
advertising.
then, Alec.
Come watch my
No flying
stream.
allowed. No flying
My
allowed.
channel
Oh wait, let me get back up. I fell off.
is
Just fall.
Oh
Cam
wait, there's fall damage.
on
Save myself
Wii
right on time.
on
Ooh.
YouTube.
Get out of here, boy. Oh, your shield,
Playing
nothing.
videos and having
Did I
fun.
hack? Did I cheat?
Yes, you are physically hacked.
Did I
Come
do
watch
that?
my stream.
Membrane.
My channel is Cam on Wii on YouTube, playing videos.
Oh my!
and having
Get out of here,
Play,
boy.
I said
You
playing
dumb.
videos.
Alex cheating.
Sorry, but you're the one
Fritz,
trying to leak
Alex
his stuff
cheating.
on
Tell him to
stream.
stop.
I'll scare
Tell
all
him
the
to stop
viewers away since
cheating.
I'm a rat. What do you mean you're a rat? I'm the rat.
No, I
Shay.
died.
I'm the rat. Okay, let's see if I can download Fortnite now.
I was like, what? What happened to my game? And I was like, oh.
I don't-
You died to fall damage.
Resume. I hate
Oh, Alex.
No.
I hate the Epic Game Launcher so much. Okay, like it,
I was
it
trying to
really
hide.
sucks. Can I just
But I
I
had
didn't
nothing.
even know you were there. I just started
uninstall? You want to
shooting the
uninstall
screen.
it? Yes, I want to uninstall it from my PC.
You want to uninstall Fortnite already?
I haven't downloaded it.
Okay.
Come watch my stream.
Cam, just be
It's my-
toxic. Cam, stop being
It's
toxic.
not your stream,
Yeah, it is. It's my stream now, boy.
not you. Can I download this? I am
Oh
very...
no!
Cam, play the game, please.
over
Just
here,
a
boy.
second.
Get over here, mortal.
Let me find my stupid desktop because I can't close the Xbox. I can't minimize it, or else
Oh
it'll
my
just completely
God.
break it.
Face
Dude, that was
TQ.
like pro league right there. It just
Please.
phased through the build from like
It's his
under.
stream now, boy. Whose stream now, boy?
Yeah, it's
the
my
guy-
stream
yeah,
now.
Yeah.
Boy.
Install
Oh my gosh, you're
Fortnite.
shooting RPGs. I'm scared.
So now I can browse
So you
options.
just-
I want
But I
to put it
still
on my
take
D
fall
drive.
damage.
I want to put it
Oh
in. Yeah, just put it on the D drive.
Let me land safely, please, game.
You're just like flying
Yes,
everywhere.
install Fortnite. Oh my gosh.
No, stop.
Okay, now we're playing.
You're
My
not
frames are
allowed.
probably gonna drop once it starts actually downloading.
Oh
but
my gosh.
it should be fine.
How
Alright,
you
4v4s.
build?
This is like the weirdest game.
Wait, did you guys delete the portals?
Is it downloading?
I
Yes,
didn't.
okay, my frames have not
You
dropped,
nerd.
so it's okay. It's probably just my memory that went up. Let me check. Oh no. My CPU's only the percentage of my CPU is only at like 30, so it should be okay. Oh my gosh, it's the
Where
faded
you
orange.
show your face.
Yeah.
I don't know where I am.
Oh my. Watch my stream. Lol. We are having fun on YT,
Hallelujah.
doing anything
Hallelujah.
you want. No, we are playing 4v4s.
Come at me. I'm like, oh my.
Chat.
No
P.
flying. Why are you flying, boy?
He said.
What?
Okay, it's history now, boy. My longest, yeah, boy.
I'm just kidding.
All right, guys, we're gonna win this.
Did you die
We
to
are.
fall damage
I'll
again?
fast stack to middle. You guys go to diamond. I'll go grab their bed, and then we kill them. Okay, that's how. That's yeah.
Stop it. Stop it.
Yeah, with my awesome
Nerd.
stream.
Dude, drum gun is
viewers.
actually like
Oh my god.
drum shotgun. I mean, it's like
Faded, move.
poops
Faded, move.
It,
Stop
like,
build.
it
You're wasting
poops,
materials.
like-
Faded.
on you, like.
You're
God,
flying. You cheater.
Yeah, you fly too.
You guys are
Like,
cheating? Oh
Only
my
on my
god,
first
imagine
shot.
cheating in Fortnite.
Okay,
I
can
just
you guys
died.
go to the new island and tell me what's on it?
Imagine cheating in
What- the big
Fortnite.
Oh
one?
my lord, I hate you guys.
Should I download ESP
What'd we do?
and like
What did we do? Wait, the
aimbot?
biggest one?
on
Like the
Fortnite?
biggest, biggest
Just-
one?
No. So heavy AR and combat shotgun.
Alright, I'm out on the mountain,
that
Alec.
scared me.
You wanna come fight me? Fight me, boy. You scared flying, boy. You're too scared of my power.
Am I though?
I really.
Yes, you have
why
to
am I?
fly.
You do realize I
Because
could just
you
do
can't fast
that.
hack, Mad. You can't fast hack, so therefore automatically bad.
Where are you? Show yourself.
I'm kidding.
Hold
I'm
me,
kidding,
no,
Mad.
no,
I'm
no,
kidding,
no.
Mad. I'm joking.
You're scared now,
Cause
huh?
you're the best at defending.
I can't even
You're the
reload.
best at
I
defending,
should,
okay?
but it's
You
like
can
it doesn't
PvP. Then
cancel
come in.
reload.
Then come in help. We don't need a serious base defense every time
Why?
we play.
I'm just bad at this game.
No, I am
suck. Why do I even play
XD.
this? I should just play Siege. I'm actually good at Siege.
No, you're actually not. Everett is the god
Oh my
of
gosh,
this
you have a
land.
scar? What?
Hey, Everett, Shay's
Oh my
calling
gosh,
you god of
toxic
land.
She's calling me God of Land.
Yeah, she's calling you the
Who?
god of land. Of the land.
Thanks. I am God of the land.
Bed defense done. Then
I keep
Wait,
killing
what am
Alex,
I
so I
then?
am
Go
the
get
God
their
of the
bed.
land. Alec is
Okay,
the god of losing, right?
Wait, are we? Oh,
Yeah, okay, we're gonna try it, okay? So just
Is Shay?
fly past all the
Is
islands,
Alex the
okay?
god of losing? That's my question.
no, stop it. If you do that, Everett, do you have any idea? Dude, I will whip out my Elite controller right now.
Choose one that you want to
Oh,
go
this
to.
doesn't
choose one
work.
that you wanna
I'll go
go
This
to.
doesn't work.
Yeah, B doesn't work either.
Oh shoot, I forgot to.
I swear I'm gonna delete
B
my
and C don't
Fortnite
work.
now.
Why?
Why? What just happened? What just happened? I'm so confused.
Okay, sorry, I had to
What just
I had to
happened,
mute my
Ellie?
microsec. On stream.
Why did you
I'm gonna
mad?
Sorry,
take-
guys.
I'm gonna like take a glass.
Alright, let's just go kill them and
Like
we're
a
done. Let's
glass
just
you
go.
drink out
Let's
of.
get like a winch. Let's be
and
skeptical.
I'm just gonna throw it.
Boy,
At some-
hey,
I'm gonna like throw it at a
low.
cat or something.
Oh my
What
god, they
happened?
actually
Witness
spent
its pain and play
Why
it.
did they have to get an iron golem? Like, why do you?
I'm coming, Alec. Fight
I don't
me.
have any
Are you
guns.
now, Everett? Are you now?
Where are you?
Auto GG. Yeah, I have an auto GG.
That gun's just goaded.
On Badline
No,
client,
it's just super
'cause
spammy.
Badline
It's not good.
client
It's
is.
just so spammy.
No, it's actually good. Why do you think they took
It's
it
only
out
at
of the game?
7%. Are you kidding me? What's my network
Because it's
speed?
broken.
Okay, it's actually. I got
They took it out of the
bed
game.
defend.
Get
Because
over
it
here,
broke.
boy.
Yes, let
Oh
him.
my.
He good.
I'm unliking your
No,
YouTube channel.
you're bad. Bad. You don't have VIP
Stop running.
plus. And also the god of losing. Yeah.
Stop running, Alec.
Okay, this
Dude,
should
I'm
work
just-
now.
Alright, I'm going C. I
just
call
Well, I
bad.
don't have a
I call
rank.
C.
Just bad
I
at
call C.
everything.
He has
call
owner on
B
another.
then,
He has
nerd.
owner on my speed,
I call the
so
one
he
that I'm landing
outrules
on.
automatically. No, not you, Mad. Alec. I
Is
said
it work?
my friend Alec.
B doesn't work.
Alec,
Ugh.
Shay called you
What are
the
you
god of
talking
losing.
about?
I am going
Yeah.
to like throw.
He did.
I'm gonna
Oh.
He
throw
said he's the god of
Do you guys
losing.
know the thing underneath your mouse
gonna
that
throw my
like
phone
the red light?
Why? Why are you throwing your phone?
What?
Why?
Are you not paying attention ever?
Homemade beads.
No. Shay called
Play
you the god of
4v4
losing, right?
v4.
That's
No,
it.
we're playing 4v4s.
Dude.
So you guys know the the red light on your thing that like everyone subscribed to Zealous Moose on YouTube? I think how can you even spam
You
that?
just
They
gave
have
somebody a shout
they have a chat control, don't they?
I don't
Hey.
want to throw my controller.
Or is it not
not my control, my phone, because I'm
No,
pissed.
no, we aren't.
I don't feel like getting up and getting it if I throw it.
Not for
Group
spam
B.
is.
No, I
it's
swear
dumb.
my phone's like
SMG
invincible. I could like chuck it at like a
No
wall.
people
and it'll be
here.
fine.
Oh, true. There is no people
It's like
here.
no
So
case.
slash
Everett,
lobby
stop! I don't even
slash
have anything.
p warp. We warp you
Exactly.
guys all here,
We're
so it
going to
doesn't
war.
like. Okay, fine. We'll play 4v4v4v4s.
Mid-American
Oh,
Energy
I will
Alex,
fight you,
Alex.
Alex. Square up, boy,
Alex,
says
Energy
Shay.
landscape
Alex,
by
why?
money-saving energy efficiency programs and building a new industry
Alex,
in
Shay
Iowa.
said she wants to
Wind
fight
energy,
you.
all while keeping your rates
Like in
low.
what?
So what's
Minecraft?
next?
No,
Will
like
power
she
and
literally
cost-effective
will
energy
physically come
efficiency
to your house.
programs while
Faded
putting
is
money back in your
defending.
pocket.
Yes,
That's
Faded
right.
is
You
defending.
decide how
Yes.
best to spend your savings.
Almost
That's a
APN.
partnership good for you, good for the environment, and good for Iowa. Another way to
Well-
live accessibly, relentlessly at your
Hey Cam,
service.
do you want to know my favorite video on your YouTube channel?
What?
None of them.
It's the one with you and Sam Simons and Bennett, and you're just.
I think
goated
I
bouters.
privated that because it showed my face and I don't really want that. But I'm
Oh my
not sure.
gosh,
It
what's your
probably
Pistons
it
best
probably
friend
is still
game?
up there. Bro, Mad, you literally went up to stack and then you fell. That's sad.
Stop! Stop! Stop!
Mad, you're bad. It should be bad,
I
crazy,
took fall
bad,
damage 'cause
mad.
I'm an
Mad,
actual bot.
bad, crazy moose. That is terrible defense. You are terrible defense.
Oh,
He's not done.
gosh.
I'm also lagging. Like a ton.
Fight me, Alec. I am the gingerbread skin. You will never beat me.
I'll
Ow.
get, never mind. Alright, guys,
I
I
am
started
the
streaming
gingerbread.
69 minutes ago. Oh my god.
Wait a second. Hold up.
I said, hold up.
Alec
Wait
will
a
never be able
minute.
to fight me now.
I said something ain't right. I started tasting him like,
Alex tried to knock me down.
I'm not even doing anything.
my
Chill
favorite
out.
video is the story or the ASMR. See, I took the ASMR thing down. I just completely deleted it from my channel. Like, I didn't even need it. Mad,
Oh
you gotta
my
stop
God.
falling, Mad,
Stop.
okay?
Everett, you're
No,
so dead.
don't break
It's
the
only
map,
one
please.
spot. There's a area. It
Mad,
won't
you
hit
gotta
anything
stop
as long as
falling,
it stays
okay? I
on
just
up.
watched you fall down.
Hey, where are you, Everett?
He's like right behind you.
No.
Get over here, Everett.
Bro, they literally have just wool as I am lagging, okay? What is my ping? It's probably like
If I
a
do it
whole
like
like
that.
6,000. Let me turn it on. Ping.
No.
Unknown ping. That's sad.
I think it'll be fine if I do
It's
it like
literally
that.
31.
Yeah.
How
No,
come
no,
it's-
no, no, no,
Oh,
no.
it's 60 now.
No.
Thank you.
No, Alec.
Thank you. I needed
Alec, you
that.
can't do this to
There's
me.
stuff in here. Yeah,
Alec, you
there
can't
is.
do this to
Oh, wait.
Cause I'm a little greedy
Alec.
boy.
Alec, no.
Okay, nice getting blue bed. I was gonna go do that and get TNT, but who got jump boost? Oh, yellow incoming. Yellow incoming.
Oh. You. Here, get close to
Bro,
me.
okay, they got TNT, they got TNT. Put that down fast, put that down, put it down. Put it down, put it down, Mad. Put it down, I mean, faded. What a bot.
No. Stop it.
No,
Wait,
Mad, you
time
got
out,
in my
time out, time
way!
1v1 me like a true man.
Mad, you got in my
Chill
way.
out.
Are you kidding me? Mad, you have to be kidding me. You literally got in my way. Right when I was about to survive. I had so much good stuff on me.
You're pranking me.
No.
This is why we
no,
don't use wool on the bed. Now it's
You
wide
fly.
open.
You cheat. You
I
cheat.
didn't
You're cheating, man.
I didn't mean to.
That's mean. I'll just demote you now because you're being
Oh, wait.
mean to server owner, Mad. You're also bad at PvP. This kid is
Where is
lagging.
he?
Or am I lagging? I don't know. I'm probably lagging because all you guys are all lagging.
No.
So
Oh,
let's turn on, nope, ping.
safe here.
Again, I don't care if it's like a million years big. I don't know what I just said. It's probably because I'm downloading Fortnite in the background, right? I told you I am base defense god. Then you do it, okay?
Do your flying. Get out of here, man.
Stop
There's
hacking in
tires on
Fortnite.
there?
Oh my gosh.
Stop, Everett. All I have is a legendary pistol.
See, I'm sorry, Faded, because they're all
Oh,
Oh,
bullying
legendary
why
you.
did you guys make that?
Oh,
It's
watch
fine.
out, watch out, yellow,
Yeah.
yellow,
If we
yellow,
just
yellow.
Here, wait. Time out. We're leading this.
Dude, this yellow kid.
Everett, stop.
This yellow
This thing
kid.
actually is a laser.
Who has more simp
Here, wait,
dust,
chill out,
Everett,
chill out.
Alec,
Don't
or
go- don't
Fritz?
fight yet,
Oh,
don't
that's hard to
Who has more
tell.
subs?
Okay,
Who has
no,
more
no.
subs?
Shay said, "Who has more simp dust? Like, who is more of a simp?"
Probably Everett.
Yeah.
No. I would say
I'm just that
Alec.
nice of a person that I.
I'd
It's
say
either
Alec.
Everett or
Okay, I gotta
Fritz.
turn off this stupid ping thing. I also gotta
I
pause
said legendary
freaking
pistol,
Fortnite.
you
download.
Oh wait.
Or else I am literally gonna lag out of this game.
It might be
Camo
me
is a simp.
because,
How am I a
like,
simp?
I'm just a nice person, and
How am
that,
I a simp?
you know.
Mad says I'm a simp. I don't think so.
I honestly think he is.
How? What have I done to proven that I'm a simp?
Do you have any female pets?
Yes, I mean I have a two dogs and a
Cam, I'm
cat.
sorry to say.
Cam, talk to a girl. How do you know
You
that?
tested high on our symptomus tester.
You're talking to a girl right now.
Well, oh, you mean you, Everett?
Yeah.
Confirmed.
Okay, I'm good. It worked. Oh.
Everett
Oh
is
my
a
gosh,
strong.
I actually got the
Everett's a
good one.
strong, independent woman. He would
Are we
never.
just gonna
say-
fight now or what?
That's what Shay said. I did not say that. Don't.
That's me.
Oh,
I'm
really?
scared.
Everett is a strong, independent woman. Oh,
He would
that's
never
the
simp.
funniest thing I've heard all
But
day.
so he's a woman, but he's also he. Confusion.
It.
Cam makes confused
It
noises.
is a woman.
Confusion noises. You're an it now? Oh my god. This kid is hack.
I'm not a girl or a boy.
Just straight
Either
up
this
hack.
kid is hack or Cam just blamed his internet on kid that doesn't
Okay,
hack.
let's check my ping now. Oh, it's only
This
like
kid is
60,
hack.
and that's because this.
What?
OMG Pennywise, Shay says.
Oh.
Are you
I
Pennywise?
swear, I think that's like the only thing that she talks about.
Yeah. Did you like?
It's
Oh my
it,
god, why are we
some
using water?
pale actor
Excuse
kid.
me. Oh wait, because it
That's
blocks
it.
TNT. Oh, water sucks A. That's not very nice, Matt. Just put glass. Well, they can easily Blake. They can
Well,
easily
you
Good,
know
break.
what, Shay?
good
I'm a very
English?
strong,
English?
independent bitch,
English.
so fight me.
Yeah, Shay.
I
God.
don't want to.
Can Shay hear us? That's
Yeah, she
real
can
question.
through the
Oh,
stream.
God.
I swear, the scope AR is like the worst gun in the game.
I am slow. I got a
How?
message.
I mean, you are pretty slow.
Omega Packery
That's Round.
invited you
Nerd.
to a party.
Round's a nerd.
Oh shoot, there's kids at our base, and
You
he's
should invite
inviting.
him.
Oh, that's an F.
Oh.
I forgot to put
He says,
trees on like 2 of
"Oh."
the islands.
Well,
That's fine.
that's smart.
Are
I
you
just
guys still
wanna guess.
playing
I'm
that
not
weird
very good at the game.
Yuri? Wait, you just fall damage, Mad. Wait, what? I have no shame in idolizing a giraffe. Alec Longneck
what?
is
A
just
giraffe?
as strong as Everett, so back off. What do you mean, Alec
Who
is?
said Alex?
What do you
is
mean,
just as
Alec
strong
is
as me?
strong?
Who did? Who said what?
That was Shay.
Who said what? Okay.
I'm
That's
so
true.
confused. I don't even want to think anymore.
I don't want to
I just
think
like
Alex
not
says.
think.
You know Shay can hear you, so if you don't want to think,
Swear,
Shay
I'm
won't let
gonna,
that
I'm gonna
happen.
have like a headache tomorrow when I wake up.
because, because of why?
I don't know.
You're weird like that.
Who, me?
Longneck is twice the man Alec will ever be. Who's Longneck?
It's some actor kid that I called that I just fell
Do
to
slash
my death
P
because
promote
I'm a
Mad
big
Crazy
brain man.
Moose.
Ah,
No,
this is
because
so
we're not playing your
unfair.
whack thing.
What is? What?
Because I don't have mats.
Oh, we
Yeah, I don't have
should.
mats
No,
either.
I'm not. I don't want $5
That's not even
PayPal.
a joke. I don't have mats either.
I don't even have a PayPal. Are you slow?
I don't have any mats either because I just died because I'm very big brain.
Who's Longneck supposed to be? That's what I'm
I
confused.
tell
Shay.
you, so you there's
Long
like
neck
a
is
kid
me.
in the It movie,
Oh.
and I don't know.
Oh shoot, this kid is.
I
Right
don't
here.
know who he is. I don't really care.
Dude, I
who
want
he
$5
is.
PayPal. Why do you want $5 PayPal? Do you want to just buy more?
Broke.
You wanna
Scared.
Cam, do it, please.
Don't
if you
give
do,
him the money,
I
Cam.
would. Okay, fine. P promote because I kind of want money to service. Mad crazy.
Cam wants money.
I want
Nerd.
money to our
Cam wants
to
money.
Wants
to
money.
my. This kid is a hacker.
Oh my gosh, I
This kid's
literally
a
have like the
hacker.
best loadout.
He
in
was
the
billing
Someone's
it.
got
That's
a
not me
laser.
fangirling. It's just
Whoever can just
true.
not. Who has the? Who has
He's-
the gun?
I didn't see anything. Donate $20 now. Oh god, if you
Somebody's
do, I will
greedy.
donate to the server $20 PayPal. Just just buy what's it called? Is it diamond rank that's 20 or is that 15? Or is that gold? I'm not sure. Okay, let's TP to faded orange, yeah. Oranges are good for you. And Faded, why are you stacking up to the top? You
Cam,
can
check,
easily
is your parkour
you can
still-
easily
thing still
2v1.
going?
No.
You can easily
No.
2v1
No.
blue. Bro, look at him. He has a bow. Go help Mister. Oh my god. Mad, you gotta
Are you
donate
guys already
now.
on main island? I'm kind
Dude.
of guess.
Faded, you have
I can tell you now, there's literally.
you
I
didn't
don't think
have
anything's
iron
on main,
armor.
Main island.
There's
Like Middle
golden
Island?
guns on main island.
Mad, you gotta donate now.
Is there?
Yeah, in the building.
You didn't have iron
Oh,
armor.
I didn't even look at the building yet.
Holy.
Oof, 17 kills. Did I ask? Did I
And
ask?
do I care?
Exactly.
You're so
Did I
toxic
ask?
to
Okay,
your
Faded, you said that you
watcher.
donate $20 if I
spectators.
promoted you.
Oh my gosh, Fritz,
and,
what did you do
and
to
I
this main
did,
island?
so now
I didn't
now
do
you
anything.
gotta. Oh, wrong person. Is Mad going to
Somebody
donate?
here, there's somebody here, there's somebody here. I
No,
know it.
probably not. He's a little scammer.
That would be Fritz, probably.
Scamming.
Fritz,
You're
stop
like
it.
Tommy
I have the
in
most
I said
bestest gun in
nothing.
the game, Fritz.
You're like Tommy and it's freaking scamming everybody. Yeah, now I'm sad too,
Let's go.
cause I
I still
want-
got the legendary guns,
I don't
so I'm
want
fine.
anything. Give them a pep talk.
Oh,
Uh,
I haven't even got to Middle Island yet.
wait.
Well, you
Give
should just
them a
build out
pep
to
talk
it. It's
to
not that
get your
hard.
team hyped.
What do you think I've been
Yay.
trying to do this whole
Faded,
time?
stop. I swear. I
Where
had a.
even are you?
How old are you? 2? He's 4.
Finally
yeah, no,
just
I'm
got
4.
to Middle Island.
Ever,
I'm
you're
just
gonna get
joking.
bullied by Fritz.
I'm just
Wait,
joking.
who are
Fritz
you
is just
saying
gonna
who's
bully.
4?
He's
Who's
just
for?
camping mid island. I see him on top of the house. I'm not even on mid
No,
island.
they need to
I just
guess
see him on
age.
top
I
of the
don't
house.
know what you're saying. You guys are high. Okay.
Oh, I just died. I'm at.
no!
I'm sad.
I'm a savage.
Are you sure about that?
You're all 4. No, you're 4, Shay. You literally look like you're 6.
Fact.
Look, what do you mean?
To Shay, I said that to Shay. So.
Nope. I physically do not want to do this anymore. Fritz, I know you saw me.
Shay is no, it's spelled like this, dummy.
Apostrophe
and-
W. That's what you have to do with
I
it.
don't know. You just look like you're 6. Is that gold? Oh, that's
No!
perfect.
No!
How low is he?
He's literally 1 health.
Bro, I can hear
You
hear
have to
my
go back to your
graphics
normal
card.
island. Like your
Yeah,
island
I
Okay,
tried to
is on
find
and-
my normal islands. Okay.
Everyone is a grammar please
No,
is
chill
an
out, no.
idiot. You're an idiot.
Oh, you dropped your hunting rifle. That's mine.
How'd
now.
you get an LMG? How'd you
It's
get
on
an
one of the islands.
Bro, I'm
Are you
actually
guys still
quitting
playing
it.
that
No,
Fortnite
stop
thing,
landing
or
on
that?
the
Are you
wrong
still
island.
playing what's
Oh,
it
wait,
called,
I
Bed
did.
Wars in
Just kill
Fortnite?
me.
Yeah. Not Bed Wars, but like just like
Sky Wars.
Yeah,
sort
it's
of
like
like
Sky
just
Wars.
run around and it's more like Sky Wars than it is Bed Wars.
I'm gonna. Do they have an FOV slider yet
Oh, whoa,
on that
whoa,
game?
whoa, chill out there, buddy.
Do they have FOV yet? If not, then I'm probably not gonna
I'm
play. 'cause
bad at this game.
I need
I did it for
like
once.
110 FOV
I don't even think
in
I
a
need to
game,
do
or else
anything
I
at this
literally
point.
can't play it.
No.
Yeah, I don't know
I
how to
just
make this fun.
broke my.
Here, I'll make one.
Maybe it's like first to a certain
What-
amount of kills. Or I don't know.
Look, I will make one.
I
I will
just broke
spend
my
all my
only way
years
to
of
Mid-Island.
learning how to play Fortnite. Here, take that, take that, take that, take that. Oh,
So
shoot.
I just killed myself.
Our
No,
bed.
Stop. Please
Oh no, I
stop.
totally didn't set them up
Please.
for
I just
it.
got bullied.
Oh no, Fade
No.
is so bad. No, you.
I'm on my island still. I haven't even left. No.
Did you though?
No, you can't knock down.
I
Well,
wasn't
you
trying
already
to.
did.
Oh my God, my bed is.
Why do I land on the top
Okay.
of my
I'm
house?
gonna die.
You
I'm
shouldn't be
gonna die. I'm
attacking
gonna die. I'm
y'all.
gonna die.
I
I
don't.
already did.
I have no friends. Oop. Oh, who's on Mine's Beef? I'm gonna hop on Mine's Beef then. G list.
Cam, what
Don't
if I told
fall
you it
to
was
the dark
me?
side, Sam.
Let's go.
It's
my
not you. I
God.
think it's Rylan. No, it's actually not Rylan. Wow.
I'm Ashley Flowers, and there's nothing I love more.
I
thought
don't
it was
want to do this
Rylan
anymore.
probably, but it's not.
On my new show,
Don't forget to
Superman,
/ vote.
I'm digging into
Oh yeah, I should
Let
vote for a
me
server now, cause I can vote
get
now.
on.
Slash vote.
Okay,
and
that'll work.
unexplained events.
Open that one, yes.
Stop.
Why am I voting for
Stop.
my own server?
No, don't knock it
Because,
down.
No, I didn't. I was just
1v1
trying to
me?
hit you.
I'm not 1v1
Oh.
you. Okay, I'm not a robot. Vote for the
Wait,
server.
what? Where are
Is
you?
it gonna... Oh, it went through. Yay. See, voting is up. Yay. Now I'm gonna vote for Minecraft MP.
Thank you,
way
Alec.
you just did that.
Take it down.
Thank you, Alec.
Your friend's faded.
Yeah,
Friend is
I
now on.
227 you in
Okay,
the head,
Cam
Fritz. That's a
on
thing.
we.
Thank you,
YT
Alec.
is my Minecraft user.
Now, where are you, Everett?
Vote for this
Oh,
server.
I'm not
You've
even
already
on
voted.
silent
You will
yet.
be able to
Just
vote again
because
in
the
approximately
Fritz
3
doesn't mean you're
hours.
safe.
What?
Ooh, combat shotgun. I'll take
Crates?
that.
Did I?
I'll
Nope.
slurp that
Why
right
did
up.
Mad leave? Mad, why did you leave?
I'm not even.
Oh, I meant to go to
I think
spawn.
Fritz is already back to main island.
I don't know why
I'm
the
still
chat's
on
don't
my
work. I'm
starter
coming back.
island.
Okay. Did your game?
I heard
only
flipped.
on my
Who is
starter
FFF?
island.
Who's FF?
I can
is
hear
that?
somebody in here.
It's not me. That's
Who
all
is
I can tell
FF?
you.
Well, I
Still
don't
on
ever. I
my
don't know where
Who
you're
is
defending
that?
yourself because I
We
know
don't-
I'm not even saying it to you.
What is Optifine 1.15.2? Why is it in the stuff? What? Optifine? Do you not
I know it's Fritz. Fritz landed on main
Oh,
island.
it's work derp. Okay. I
That's-
literally
you
got
can't
the
do that. It's
same
not allowed.
sword again
But you
and again.
did.
Hack on
Fritz, I know it's you.
PvP.
I know it's
Why
you,
should I
Fritz.
hack on
Let's
my
go!
own server? Are you high?
Fritz, did you
'Cause you
literally
always
just make
shut
land
up.
on main island?
No, I have. Look. My
I know,
island's right
I
there.
know. Egg. It's slash
look at
Nick.
my
Yeah, I'm
bricks.
not. I literally.
Wrong
Why'd
by
you put
everybody
yourself the
else.
closest to main island?
I didn't
The
put myself
friend
close.
Mad
That's literally
Crazy
the
Moose
farthest
is
that
now
that thing
online.
can go.
Connected to the hub.
Oh.
Should I make it
That's the
so
farthest that
it
that building can go.
it'll say whenever?
So you guys have like LMGs
okay.
and crap.
I need to
in-
leave.
Well,
this
I
one.
have-
there was an LMG on my
I will
list.
join back later. Okay, faded. Should I make it so it says, whenever like a person with a certain permission says that, like they join like a specific server. So like if Swerg joins Kit PvP, it says Swerg Derp has connected to Kit PvP. Can I slash nick myself? And do slash disguise. We don't have slash disguise, do we? No, we don't even have discuss. No, we don't have a disguise plugin yet. No, I gotta add one, but we don't have it. I will definitely add one though. We don't have one. Disguise. Oh, was I doing a? Not how it works. Add one. I will. No gamer. What the heck is happening? Oh, I know gamer. What is happening? This is my server. Shay. This is my Minecraft server. Well, it's not mine. It's actually I actually co-owned Minecraft server thing. I don't know. Oh, mister, don't scaffold. Don't scaffold! Don't scaffold! Don't scaffold, mister. Oh god, it's not the anti-cheat, so don't scaffold. I see camo, he TP'd to me. Yeah, I'm TPing to mister because I feel like he's gonna scaffold. Dude! Mr. Creefio tried to bridge blocks quickly. Mad Crazy Moose is spamming the chat spam. Oh my god, I am lagging here. I have 331 ping. What the heck? Okay, I gotta probably restart my internet after this in a second. Cause yeah, I was just downloading something like really heavily. Slow down on chat, Moose. I was speed bridging. I can see Matrix lol. Yeah, we know you can see Matrix lol. Don't scaffold. Okay. Disable that. Disable what? The scaffold? No, I'm not disabling it. I'm not disabling this. I think it. No, it's not. It's not. It's not it. It's not Matrix. Okay, it's not Matrix. It is stop hacking. Just, man, do you still want to apply for manager? Yes. Guys, I spent 23 bucks on my pinky finger. Now I will speed bridge perfectly. If you can speed bridge and it shows, if you can actually speed bridge right now, and the anti-cheat doesn't, I mean, it bans you, then, but you have to have like a video, so record it. Plot twist, that's me. No, it's not you. I can see your sword. F. My sword. Because I'm invis. Look at that. I had like a million ping the other, like, I don't know. Look at that. I literally have. Can I see vanish users? I think you can. Can you not? No? F. I'll see. Luck perms group. Moderator permissions set essentials dots vanish dots. C. That's what it is. I need to work on a better vanish plugin. Now, can you see me, Mad? Mad. Can you see me? Can you see me, Mad? You can't see me. I can't see you. Well, you're a moderator, so. And I'm vanished. I'm vanished now. Can you not see me? Because it only gives the effect. What? Okay, can you see me now? I can see sword. Never mind, you can see me now? Are you here? Yes, I'm here. I'm right here, dummy. Behind you. Normal people can see vanished particles. Okay, yeah, I think it's called super vanish, or like, I don't know. But I don't know what it's called. It's something vanish. I need to fix it. No, just get a different plugin, I guess. What? Slash SV? That's super B. That's super vert. I'll have our dev work on it. No, just use a already made plugin. I don't know. I'm using my finger too. So how do I apply for manager again? You can't. I'm kidding. You hack on servers, so no manager for you. Faded, question mark, wait. Why can't I damage this? Am I just that laggy? I can't break that either. Oh my god. Purchased of your auction? Why did you buy that? How much did I sell that for? Oh shoot. Wrong person. I meant to do Mr. Where is it? Did you even, where did you put it? Ah. E chest. Mr. Creepy. No, it's not even in your ender chest. You He's immortal. No, you're immortal. Actually, never mind. You're not immortal. Everyone will die. I think it's just I'm lagging. Okay, I will be back. The stream will continue in a second. I just gotta go restart my internet. So, yes. Okay, I think it's back up. I think my internet's back. Let me check. Yes, my internet is back. But is my stream up? That's what I'm concerned about. Yes, it is. Perfect. Okay. Multiplayer. Co-own. Yes, sir, ma'am. What is that stupid thing doing there? Okay, why is my frames all bad? Are we all in Skyblock or something? Yeah, we are. I should go play on Royal High on Roblox. It would be iconic. No. scaffold even though I wasn't. What? Yo, my frames. Matrix warnings. It might. Did it ban you? Did it ban you? Because if it banned you, then we have a problem. It says I was scaffolding. Then it was. If it did it ban? Why am I still lagging? Why am I still lagging? That's. Then, oh god, that doesn't look good. Cause I made this. Oh no. Did it? Why did it just send that? Bro, I am lagging. Like a ton. Are the boys coming back? I left that because it was lagging. 8,000 ping? What the heck? Are you streaming camo lag? And no. Is it no, it's not lagging. No, ever it is. Slash minions. But I'm lagging. So, I think I'm gonna stop streaming. Because it's so laggy.